Yesterday, the 3D printing community nearly exploded with Bambu Labs' new announcement of their H2D machine. This machine, quite frankly, has a lot going on. From a brand new AMS system possibility, to having a laser attachment and cutting attachment, to a new hot end design with 2 nozzles on a single extruder, among many other new features that I'm still trying to process everything that was announced yesterday. There was a lot going on with this announcement, so we ended up talking about this over on my live streaming channel on Twitch. If you guys are not a part of the Twitch community, the link to that will be in the description. We chatted about that on my live stream last night, and I gave my first reactions and thoughts to their announcement and whether or not this is something I would consider getting myself. So enjoy the footage and let me know what you guys think in the comments if you agree or disagree with me. That being said, let's get right into it. Enjoy. So I got their website here, the Bambu Lab website. Nothing, for those that haven't figured this out yet or haven't heard anything about the Bambu Lab H2D, this is their new announced printer, and what the selling point of this machine is the 2 nozzle setup with the single shared extrusion system. This is a similar machine to I believe Snapmaker has a machine like this. I believe Ultimaker also has a machine like this. This is actually not an uncommon additive manufacturing machine design. This is something that's been done before, but I was interested in some of the aspects of the design here that I think they do a little bit differently. And we're going to go through their entire specs page, and we're going to look through everything and react to everything. So honestly, I have not... other than watching, I did get the chance to watch one unboxing live stream today for just a few moments and saw the printer up and running, but I haven't really dove into a lot of the specs and the marketing hoopla that's been announced today, other than some real basic stuff. So we're going to take a look at their website and go through all these features and talk about some things. Also, the other big thing about this machine is that there's also an option for an all-in-one laser engraver and also a material cutter tool head. Now, we're going to get into that in a little bit as well. There's some things about that I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say leery on, but we'll get into that side of things. Let's focus right now on the printer side of it. We're going to look through the website. We're going to go through the website and see some things here. So, all their marketing material, I always kind of am leery with marketing material. It's just always been, what you see on a website or what they show on a video is not always entirely what you're going to get out of a machine, out of a product. So you kind of have to be really leery on marketing material. One thing with the two nozzle setup that they're claiming is that you can print multiple materials. You can print one material as a support material and another material that's like a TPU or a PLA with PETG or PVA with water supports, which I would think would be a good application for this. They do have an AMS unit. There's a brand new AMS unit to this as well. We'll kind of dive into as we get to those specs. But the other big thing they're claiming is that this also will have a laser tool head, which would be able to cut materials such as wood. I'm assuming acrylic. Also, there's a pen plotter tool that I guess is attached as well. There's a cutter tool as well. Also, there is this AI camera. I noticed this today in one of those marketing videos. It like traces out an image. I'm actually kind of curious to see how that would work in real time. I could definitely see that being kind of a useful thing, especially on like if you need to sketch something up really quick, or if you're reverse engineering something, that might be beneficial, because 3D scanners aren't necessarily the most expensive. Again, a lot of these things I can be very skeptical. I usually tend to lean skeptical until I see a physical machine that hasn't been run by people of influence or people that have worked with these companies that have, I like to see when real consumers get these machines and how their experiences are before I really dive into making rash decisions about whether I like something or not. So we're going to kind of keep an open mind right now, but that is interesting to see how that would potentially work. In terms of this, they were talking about some software with the cutting tools. I'm not really sure. Lasers are kind of tricky, and for those that have never used a laser, an industrial laser cutter before, normally you need a type of vector software that can take a graphic, an image, a compilation of lines and curves, and translate it into a software where you can set it up for a laser and set up the settings to burn it, to cut, whatever. So they didn't really mention anything about the laser software yet, or at least I haven't seen anything about the laser software, unless it's something like it's a Bambu thing. So I'm kind of curious to see if it's a compatibility with other like third-party softwares. I'm gonna lean towards maybe no because of their prior history. We'll just leave it at that. But that's something that I wasn't 100% sure about too. Initially, my initial thoughts, I should say. They did add laser safety windows and an air purifier. However, this is something that I saw. I did see this earlier, and I'm a little bit ticked off by it because you see the little asterisk here. You go all the way down because you don't know where the asterisk leads to. All the way down here to notes. All the way at the end of their page. Air purifier is an optional equipment buy at official store. The biggest thing about owning a laser, for those that have never worked with an industrial laser, is that you absolutely 100% need proper ventilation for it. That's not even negotiable. This air purifier seems like it's in the right idea. It has a tube connected to the back of the machine into this air purifier, and then there's this tube out here that normally, in any industrial setting, you're going to need a cutout in your wall to run that tube outside, typically. As a consumer machine or a prosumer machine, if they're calling it this, I am very concerned that many people are going to not realize that they need this. That does scare me a little bit, and that makes me a little hesitant on the laser side of things. And most people aren't going to go all the way down to the bottom of the page like I just did and look at that. So I think it's absolutely necessary. I think that's good that they've come up with an air purifier system. I don't know the details of it, so I can't really I can't say it's good or bad design or anything like that. But this should be 100% included in this machine if you get the laser option. Now, we are going to talk about, there are a couple different options of this machine. There's a printer only. There's a printer with an AMS, and there's a new AMS combo system, and then there's the laser version of this machine with the printer and the laser and the cutter. This should be 100% included. I don't know why they're not including this. That is just common sense safety. And I don't know, and I know other lasers don't come with air purifiers or tubes for running ventilation. I get that. But if you're gonna put this much effort into an all-in-one machine that's gonna run lasers, or any lasers in general, I wouldn't mind paying the extra $100 or so. I don't know what the price of this air purifier is. This should be included if you get that option. That's a safety thing. That is so concerning. Unless you have a decent air ventilation system already, if you already have other laser machines and have a setup already, I could see why you wouldn't need this. But if this is someone's first dive into lasers, I would make sure you get the air purifier. Yeah, I agree. I think some of these could range up into the hundreds of dollars, even more. Knowing Bambu, I don't know the price. I could be wrong. I don't think this would be fairly cheap, but we'll see if I can find that information, and I'll try to post that. So yeah, there are safety windows. That's good. You should still wear goggles near the machine if you're right up against the machine. Goggles, PPE for your eyes, and for the air around you are crucial with lasers. And I hate harping on the safety stuff, but that's literally the most important thing here. So I'm a little leery about the laser side of things. Just more because of the safety stuff. But again, I know everyone's gonna have opinions on this. Let me know in the comments if you guys think it's necessary, if it's not, or if you guys think there should be another option for this. I think this is a good start, but having this as this add-on does not help anybody, because the common people that are getting this machine, most of them have never run an industrial laser or a laser cutter before. This is going to be their first go at it, and I just really am afraid to hear horror stories about people with breathing problems, because breathing in plastics and burning wood and stuff is not good. It's not great. But let's continue, because I don't want to focus all on this. There's a lot of other specs about this machine. Full auto calibration, that's pretty cool. I don't know what this material code sync does. Scans QR code and material at perfect reset. Okay, so it seems like it's similar to their RFC codes on their spools. I know they do that with the Bambu spools. So that's interesting to see. The air assist, let's see. Improve service quality by directing high-speed air to cool laser pet. Okay, so this is a laser functionality. Yeah, I'm not sure. This looks like marketing gimmick. I don't know how that would laser when a laser cuts a material, it cuts it, and then it's like, I mean, I guess it depends on the material you're cutting. Depending on the material you're cutting, it could, you could laser cut it, it could start fraying, it could be a clean cut. I don't know if the air is supposed to be kind of like when you 3D print, there's a fan that cools it instantly. I'm not sure what that is, to be honest with you. Also, this I saw this in their little marketing video that they did with the fake family. You could put a curved surface or a curved body on the machine, and it will scan the 3D geometry and be able to mark exactly where the cuts need to be and where the engraving needs to be. This is also kind of I'm a little skeptical by this too. I'm a little weary about this, because anybody that works in manufacturing knows you need to have a set origin for anything you're cutting. If you don't, you're not going to have it in the right spot. You're not going to have the right depth. You're not going to have the right power. I just don't see how this isn't like, because this is just floating on a surface. Like, you can move this around while it's cutting, and I don't know. Again, maybe I have to wait and see it actually in action with something like a 3D physical shape where they're curved. But my first thought is people are going to have frustrations with this, because either they move the machine slightly and it moves, and your cut doesn't look good, or your engraving doesn't look as good. But maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a little leery about that. So now we're getting into some of the actual printing side of it. I saw this. This is a fine motion accuracy of an encoder plate combined with a 5 micrometer resolution optical measurement to track and correct tool head motion. So this reminds me of it looks like a very fancy leveling setup. Just based off of the movement, it reminds me of like the Prusa XL. The Prusa XL does have a calibration sequence where it goes to different points on the bed depending on how big your print is. But again, Vision encoder sold separately. Like, why are you promoting things that are add-ons? Like that irks me a little bit. And I understand the business side of that. You want people to upgrade the machines. But putting it in fine print in a tinier spot on the web page doesn't make me feel better. Oh, is that for the laser? Okay. I didn't realize if that's for the laser, then that's okay. Still, that's again, I'm interested to see how that works. It looks like it would try to keep things fairly centered. It looks like it would keep things calibrated. Size constraint, I'm actually pretty pleased with the machine about the size. The overall size seems to be a good size for this. It's 350 by 320 by 325 millimeters in the Z. Although, can I just say something? Like, can someone explain why the... why can't there ever be uniform constraints? And I mean, I don't know. Is it something where they build the printer from the outside in and then they're left with that much build volume and that's how they decide? Like, 350 by 320 by 325 is just a very random set of numbers to me. It's a personal thing. I don't completely grill me in the comments, but I just think, why can't we just have a set uniform X, Y, Z, or X, Y, and have this different Z? I don't know. I know Bambu likes to be a little bit different. I know other 3D printer companies do the same. I don't know. It's just a weird thing that for me personally. And now we're looking at the hot end itself a little bit. I did like the hot end design. I think this is, you know, this again, we talked about this is a very similar. I wouldn't say this is a very similar design to a couple other printers that are already on the market, but they're more on the professional level. The Snapmaker, I forget the name of the Snapmaker machine, but it has a similar setup to this. On top of the new Ultimaker that just came out too, so it's not an uncommon setup. I'm actually kind of surprised they went with the dual nozzle setup with the single extruder. I think a lot of people were expecting a multi-tool Bambu printer, but with the AMS system, kind of their AMS was their money maker initially, and I think that's what set them apart initially. With their AMS and with their newest iteration of the AMS, I think they don't necessarily need it. I think this is their way to kind of slide into the multi-tool world without really sliding into the multi-tool world. I don't necessarily hate this design. I think it could be very useful for certain applications, especially with, you know, printing support material in one material and then printing your print in another, like printing PETG with PLA material or support, or PVA, which is the water-soluble stuff. Although, can we also say one thing? PVA, and please correct me if I'm wrong. PVA is not super cheap material to print with. Am I still right on that? I'm surprised companies still market like people using PVA and dipping in water to soluble material. But PVA is like not cheap. And I'm surprised, unless I'm wrong, and it's kind of gone down in price, but I would think it's kind of tough to market that material when really the consumer, it's harder to get that material, or at least to buy it. So I don't know why they always market that to like consumer level machines when I've never used PVA, and there are times where I could, but most consumers aren't going to get PVA because it's too expensive. But I don't understand why they market that for when they market that in videos and whatnot. Their two hot ends are high flow. It looks like a customary or proprietary nozzle design. Not any different than the current Bambu lineup. I did see that right now it's only supporting 2 nozzles of the same type, so 2.4 nozzles. I'm sure that's going to be a different. That might be a firmware upgrade where you can maybe customize different, like a 0.4 and a 0.6 hot end. But we'll kind of have to wait and see. 600 millimeters per second speed with the high flow. That's pretty impressive speeds. I saw that it could go up to like 1,000 millimeters per second. Like, that's insane. The extruder motors, I know a lot of people have been talking about the servo motors that they're using for this. I think this is something I'm actually pretty excited about. While I'm not as technically sound on servo motors, I do know they exist. They're used in other applications. They're not really using 3D printing that much, but I'm actually curious to see how these work. I'm very excited for this. I do think this design of the extruder is pretty cool. I definitely can see this being a benefit where you're trying to continuously print at high speeds, trying to keep as much accuracy in your print as possible. And like I talked about earlier today with the issues I had running with my nozzle running into infill in my print and causing layer shifts. I think having something with a higher torque like the servo motor, I think can help prevent that a little bit. I think that's something that a lot of people, I think that's going to be, I think it's going to be an interesting design feature, and I think that's going to be one of the cooler things I've seen on this machine so far. So, again, I don't know all the ins and outs of servo motors, but I think that's something that's fairly interesting in my opinion. I am actually curious to see how this works and how the quality of your prints look after, you know, a couple months. And at the speeds they're trying to push, because I think what this machine is really trying to do is still push speed, but I mean clearly they're trying to push us at a prosumer level. So, Polymorph in chat, servos have more strength per weight than stepper, so it lets them save weight with 2 extruders on the hot end. Okay, gotcha. Appreciate that. Thank you for the little tidbit. Yeah, there's, I believe there's an encoder on here as well, which I think I mean, with the extruder itself, that's going to help. That should help with, like, you know, with filament loading in and out. That's going to help tremendously too, I think, with the AMS system. I know a lot of people are complaining about the AMS not having enough strength to pull lighter spools of filament. I think that's going to help with that. Nozzle camera. I'm very leery about nozzle cameras. I've seen these on other machines and them not working very well. If they can detect, you know, blob of death or clogged nozzle or spaghetti, great. I'm going to hold my breath on that, because every time someone's promoted a camera that can detect something, it's not worked out that way. So we'll leave that be. The AI camera, I think we talked a little bit about earlier. 15 sensors on the filament path is pretty interesting. Again, I think we haven't talked too much about the upgraded AMS, but I've been, from what has been told and shared, the new AMS is going to be much better with dragging filament through into the extruder. It's going to have much more strength. It's going to be able to feed much better. And I think it's supposed to take less time to swap colors. It's not supposed to purge as much because you have the 2 extruders or the 2 nozzles. So I think the time in between color swaps should be shorter. From what I understand, it shouldn't have to extrude waste filament as much. But yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like they have taken what worked for them on the X1C, the A1, the X1C, no, the P1, sorry. And they really have tried, it seems to me, by first glance, they really have, you know, this has been like a 2 or 3 year announcement in the waiting, I guess. You know, it's been a minute since they've announced the first iteration of their printers, so I think overall I'm really excited to see the mechanics of the printer itself. I'm more excited about the printer aspects itself than the laser features and the laser cutter, and the cutting features and the plotter. I think all that's really not as necessary. You know, I think having everything in one setup is going to be troublesome. You know, having laser engraving a piece of equipment or a piece of material, and then having particles and remnants of that material inside the enclosure of your printer while you're printing, that can't be good for any of the metal components. That cannot be good for the overall wear and tear of the machine. There's a lot of more like safety things. Again, I think safety is going to be a big thing with the laser. I still worry about that. But I am excited for the printer, the aspects of the machine itself. I really, really am. And for those that are wondering, this is the different iterations of the machine you can get. The H2D just has the plain printer. It's the just the base machine. The H2D AMS combo gives you all of this here, and then the laser gives you the either a 10 watt or a 40 watt laser, which I didn't realize they had two different laser heads. So that's interesting to see. I guess it depends on what type of material you're trying to cut and what thickness. But yeah, I think the machine itself, I think, has a lot of promise. I think, you know, we saw this with Prusa. I think Prusa and Bambu are kind of right now leading the charge in terms of innovating in the prosumer and the consumer industry. You know, back in 2020, 2021, when Prusa, you know, and Bambu announced their machines, the XL, you know, now the Core 1 as well, and with the X1C and their other flagship printers, you guys are now seeing that a lot of other companies are shifting to like a Core XY with a material unit on top. So you kind of see that trend now. So I'm thinking, you know, if history repeats itself, this could lead to better things for everyone else as well. I think this type of prosumer type machine, I think, is great to see. We haven't talked about price yet, but we will in a second. I think this is a good stepping stone on the printer side of things. You know, I think most people would like to dive into having two separate nozzles or two separate, I guess, independent systems. It's not really an IDEX. I guess you can't call it an IDEX printer. But I think someone who's had a Bambu printer or someone who's started out in this industry or this hobby for a couple of years, this is not a terrible next step in terms of the printer specs. I think this is on the printer side of things, I think it's a good step up. I think the laser and the cutter and the plotter, I think that's kind of a step backwards. I don't think it needs to be all in one. I think if you're going to go on a laser cutter for any of your crafting or applications, I think that should be a separate machine. But again, it's more about waiting and seeing what actually happens. You know, this is all my opinion, by the way, so just keep that in mind. I think this is something, you know, I'm always open to seeing how things work out in the end. You know, people were talking about the XL being the next best thing. You know, my experience with my Prusa XL hasn't been perfect either. So, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll give it time. And but I'm excited to see what comes out of this, because if it's good things, which I am kind of hoping for, that just makes the industry better for everybody else as well, because that also pushes innovation in other aspects and other companies, so we can potentially start seeing more of these types of machines in the consumer market. Speaking of that, because of that, let's talk about this, because we haven't talked about the price yet. The H2D starts at $18.99. A lot of people initial thoughts are probably, that is high, that it's expensive. But to give you guys an understanding of, you know, my Prusa XL for a single tool head costs $2,000, not including shipping, not including other spare. You did get some spare parts with the machine, so, you know, not including some of those add-ons we talked about. If you get the laser, you have to buy the add-ons that they don't specifically say, but you should. But $2,000 for the base printer, that's honestly, in my opinion, that's kind of a competitive price. It's a similar build volume, so you can kind of compare it that way. And you do get, technically, you get two separate nozzles. You can have two colors in a print at once, versus a Prusa XL with a single tool at $2,000. So I don't think that's that bad of a deal, honestly. I shouldn't say deal. It's not that. I don't think it's that bad of a price. I really don't. Now, the H2D with the AMS 2.0 is $2,200. Considering that their original AMS was around the same price, it was like $250, $300. This makes sense for the price. It is a little high. And I don't know as much about the AMS as I probably should. I should probably do a little bit more deep dive on the AMS to see if that is really worth an additional $300. But if you do want an additional 4 colors in your print, I guess I don't know if that works, you know, 4 to multiply by 2 if you want to go 2 different nozzles. At least 4 colors. That's $2,200. And then for the laser, it's $2,800 for the laser head. And all of the laser attachments. I'm sorry, for the 10 watt laser, it's $2,800. For the 40 watt, it's $3,500. This is where I start to see it kind of getting out of reach for a lot of consumers. You know, they are trying to push this as a prosumer machine, but still keep it in the consumer market. I think that's, or I guess the professional market. This is definitely a prosumer machine. This is something you don't get as your first printer. I would say this is something you get to add on to your print farm, or you change to your print farm to a bunch of these machines if you're a manufacturer or a business. I don't see this as a starter's machine, but I still think for the base printer and for the AMS, I don't think the price is that drastic. With the laser cutter, though, I am gonna say it's a little high. Now, with that said, we haven't talked about the ecosystem of Bambu, and you know, I'm not gonna dive too much into that because the ecosystem is something that is a hot button issue in this community. So I don't want to discuss it too much, but I will say that is something you have to keep in mind if you do decide to get one of these machines. If you already have a Bambu machine, you're probably familiar with their ecosystem. It is a little bit more limited of an ecosystem versus, say, other platforms that may have third-party upgrades or third-party software that you could use. So that's always something to keep in mind. I'm not going to go into the whole drama behind all that happened a few weeks ago. That's not what this discussion's about. But that's something to keep in mind. I think some of the ecosystem stuff could be improved with Bambu, just based on my thoughts. Again, don't want to get into it, but yes, that is a part of that. But at the end of the day, I am really excited to see this printer in the market. I think it's a decent step up. I don't think it's a home run with Bambu. I think this was a, we'll call it a ground rule double. So that's not bad, but a home run's usually a little bit better. I would say this machine it's exciting to see some of the features it has. I think it has some upgraded parts in the extruder with the servo motors. I think the upgraded tool heads are interesting. There was a video I saw on the design of the tool heads. I don't know if I passed it up. Was it in the specs maybe? I don't know if it was in there or if it was in another video. But it showed the two tools, or the two nozzles, kind of like working back and forth a little bit, like showing the design, how they move up and down when they switch. I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's, you know, I think a lot of detail went into this printer, at least in the mechanical aspects of the machine. I think some of the upgraded parts compared to some of the some other printers of similar size and application, I think that is a benefit. I did see that they do have their proprietary nozzle hot end design. Seems like it's an easy swap design. I don't know if these come with all metal hot ends or all metal nozzles or strong steel nozzles. Why can't companies send out hardened steel nozzles? Like, please tell me that these don't have brass nozzles on them. I'll make a whole other video on that, but but yeah, I think overall, I'm excited to see this machine. This is actually one time I don't have a Bambu myself. So for those that are thinking I'm biased towards other machines, I'm not. You know, I don't have a Bambu. I'm not a Bambu user. So, you know, for those that have used their interface before and have had good experiences with Bambu, you know, I'm curious. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoyed discussions like this, please let me know, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see the first couple machines rolling out in a few months, and until I start seeing consumers use it and give their thoughts, we'll make some more rash decisions. But I think it's an exciting day. I think it's going to help push others into building more prosumer machines, and fingers crossed we get some good results of this. So thank you everybody for watching. I do appreciate every single one of you, and let me know again in the comments whether you agree or disagree with my reaction, first thoughts. If you're going to get this machine yourself, let me know why or why not. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go do so. It greatly helps me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. Well, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll catch you all real soon. And until next time, everybody,
Keep doing it big.